$123,000, $187,000, $253,000. Together, these three quarters have reached an unbelievable combined value of $563,000. The question is, what did collectors discover that turned ordinary-looking quarters into six-figure treasures? Let's start with coin number 1. The room went silent the moment the dusty album hit the table. It was an estate sale in a small American town. Most buyers were chasing antique furniture, old photographs, and military memorabilia. Nobody paid much attention to a worn coin folder tucked inside a cardboard box, until someone opened it. Inside were dozens of ordinary-looking quarters. Nothing appeared unusual at first glance. Then one coin stopped the collector cold. A 1983 Washington quarter, a date most people would ignore without a second thought. But something about this particular quarter felt different. The coin carried a small D mint mark beneath the eagle side of its story, identifying it as a Denver issue. More than 617 million were struck that year, making it seem impossible that one could be special. Yet experienced collectors know an uncomfortable truth about coin hunting. Sometimes the most common-looking coins hide the biggest surprises. The collector purchased the entire album for less than the cost of a restaurant meal and took it home. That should have been the end of the story. Instead, it became the beginning of a mystery. Over the following days, the quarter was examined under magnification. The surfaces looked unusually sharp. The details in Washington's hair seemed stronger than expected. The eagle on the reverse displayed remarkable definition. Questions started piling up. Why had this coin survived in such remarkable condition? How had it remained hidden for decades? And why did experienced collectors keep searching for examples from 1983? The answer reaches back to a period many collectors overlook. During the early 1980s, large numbers of coins entered circulation immediately. As years passed, most became worn, scratched, damaged, or lost. Finding exceptional examples decades later became increasingly difficult. Many collectors eventually discovered that high-grade survivors from this period were far scarcer than the enormous mintages suggested. That realization transformed the search. Suddenly, this wasn't just another quarter. It was evidence. Evidence that a seemingly ordinary coin might have escaped decades of abuse and survived in an extraordinary state. The owner submitted the coin for professional examination. Then came the waiting. Weeks passed. Every collector knows that waiting period can feel longer than the hunt itself. What if the coin was ordinary? What if the sharp details were just wishful thinking? What if the mystery ended with disappointment? Finally, the results arrived. The grade was far higher than expected. Experts noted exceptional preservation, strong strike characteristics, and eye appeal rarely seen on surviving examples from the year. Similar high-grade 1983D quarters are notoriously difficult to locate, with only a small number reaching the upper levels sought by advanced collectors. Now the forgotten estate sale find had become something entirely different. A collector's prize, a coin that had spent decades hiding in plain sight. And when examples of this caliber appear at major auctions, the numbers can become astonishing. The finest known examples have been associated, with values reaching as high as $123,000, turning a simple 25-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. Not because it was made of silver, not because it was ancient, but because rarity sometimes comes from survival. And this quarter survived when countless others did not. But the next coin in our investigation may be even more surprising, because coin number 2 wasn't discovered in an estate sale. It was found somewhere nobody expected. The clue appeared where nobody expected it. A veteran coin dealer had spent decades examining collections, estate boxes, and forgotten coin albums. Most days brought nothing unusual. Ordinary coins, ordinary stories. Then a customer placed a small plastic holder on the counter. Inside was a 1977 D Washington quarter. At first glance, it looked completely unremarkable. The dealer nearly moved on, but something didn't feel right. Years of experience had taught him that the most valuable discoveries rarely announce themselves. Instead, they hide behind familiar dates and common appearances. So the investigation began. The first clue was the mint mark. A tiny D beneath the date revealed that the coin had been struck at the Denver Mint, where more than 256 million Washington quarters were produced that year. On paper, there was nothing rare about that number. In fact, it suggested the exact opposite. Yet collectors kept searching. Why? That question became the center of the mystery. The dealer pulled reference books from the shelf. Population reports were checked. Auction records were reviewed. Every answer seemed to create a new question. The second clue appeared under magnification. The surfaces were unusually clean. The fields reflected light differently than most surviving examples. Even the smallest design elements showed remarkable preservation. That shouldn't have been possible. Most 1977 quarters entered circulation immediately after leaving the mint. They spent years passing through cash registers, vending machines, banks, and countless pockets across America. By the time collectors realized how difficult premium examples would become, most had already accumulated wear. The investigation deepened. The dealer contacted other specialists. One expert suggested comparing it to certified high-grade examples. Another recommended a professional submission. A third offered a warning. Don't assume it's common just because the date is common. That statement changed everything. Weeks later, the coin was sent for evaluation. Then came the waiting. Every collector knows that moment. The package is gone. The decision is out of your hands, and every possible outcome plays repeatedly in your mind. Was this simply another quarter, or was it something far more elusive? The results finally arrived. What the experts discovered surprised everyone involved. While millions of 1977 quarters exist, only a tiny number survive. In the elite condition levels, demanded by advanced collectors, specialists have noted that examples reaching the highest grades are extraordinarily difficult to locate, with only a limited population confirmed at those levels. Suddenly, the ordinary quarter wasn't ordinary anymore. It became evidence. Evidence that rarity doesn't always begin at the mint. Sometimes rarity is created by survival. A coin escapes damage. It avoids circulation. It remains hidden for decades. And when collectors finally recognize what they're looking at, the market responds. The final clue emerged during a major sale. A top-quality example stunned observers and pushed the value discussion into entirely new territory. The number attached to the finest known specimens reached an astonishing $187,000. Not for gold, not for silver. For a quarter, most Americans would never examine twice. But our investigation is far from over, because coin number 3 wasn't hidden in a collection. It was discovered after someone noticed a detail so small that almost everyone else missed it. The bidding stopped at $253,000. For a moment, nobody in the room spoke. Collectors had gathered expecting another strong auction result. Rare coins crossed the block one after another. Gold coins, silver coins, historic treasures. Then came a quarter. Not a gleaming specimen locked away in a museum. Not a coin sparkling with flawless surfaces. This one looked dusty, a little dull. The kind of quarter many people would overlook without a second glance. Yet within minutes, it became the most talked-about coin in the room. That is where our final mystery begins. The coin was a 1971 Washington quarter with no mint mark, meaning it originated from Philadelphia during a period when Philadelphia coins typically carried no mint mark at all. From 1932 through 1979, Washington quarters struck there generally appeared without a mint mark. At first, the story made no sense. Why would a seemingly ordinary quarter attract so much attention? The answer wasn't obvious, and that is exactly what made the investigation so fascinating. The first clue appeared in an old collection assembled decades earlier. Inside a forgotten envelope sat the quarter. Unlike the bright coins surrounding it, this one remained untouched. No polishing, no cleaning, no attempt to make it look newer. Just decades of natural aging. Most people would see dirt. Experienced collectors saw something else, a possibility. The second clue emerged during closer examination. Every tiny mark on the surface told a story. The coin had survived half a century without being altered. In the collecting world, original surfaces can reveal details that cleaning often destroys forever. The dusty appearance wasn't evidence of neglect. It was evidence of survival. Questions began multiplying. Why had this coin escaped countless trips through circulation? How had it remained hidden for so long? And what were specialists seeing that everyone else missed? As researchers dug deeper, another surprising fact surfaced. The 1971 Philadelphia quarter was produced in enormous numbers. Millions entered commerce and spent years changing hands across America. Yet the finest survivors proved far more elusive than the production total suggested. High-grade examples from this era became increasingly difficult to locate as decades passed. The mystery was no longer about the date. It was about preservation. Every clue pointed toward the same conclusion. This dusty quarter had somehow avoided the fate suffered by countless others. Then came the final examination. Experts studied every detail: the strike, the surfaces, the eye appeal, the originality. One by one, the clues aligned. What looked ordinary to the public appeared extraordinary to specialists. The investigation that began with a dusty quarter was approaching its climax. Auction day arrived. Collectors watched closely. Bids started moving, then accelerating, then surging. The numbers climbed beyond expectations. Higher, higher, and higher still. Finally, the hammer fell. The highest known examples associated with this remarkable 1971 no mint mark quarter reached an astonishing $253,000. A quarter, just 25 cents in face value, yet worth more than many homes, not because it contained silver, not because it was ancient, but because rarity can hide where nobody thinks to look. Sometimes it hides beneath a layer of dust. Sometimes it waits inside a forgotten collection. And sometimes the greatest treasure isn't the coin everyone notices, it's the one everyone ignores. So before you dismiss that old quarter sitting in a drawer, remember this story. History doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as pocket change, waiting for the right person to recognize what others missed.